Hey everyone, Mo Xuan is finally in GMS. Honestly, a sentence that I never thought I would be saying. I really just assumed that Next Zone America wanted to align us more with KMS. Not that it's a bad thing that we get it. In my opinion, new classes are almost always just a good thing, so the new class is very appreciated. I went into the class pretty blind, knowing only a few things, and after a quick playtest and leveling session, I have some opinions. Probably my favorite thing about the class is its aesthetic. I think the skills and the class design are pretty great, but in my opinion, the best thing has got to be how clean the animations are. A really big issue I have with Maplestory is how sometimes you just can't see what you're doing because of how many animations are layered on top of your character. Even when you have the skill opacity turned all the way down, sometimes I just can't see what's happening on my Adele at all, but Mo Xuan really limits the amount of animations that actually happen directly on top of your character, which means I didn't have this issue, even when playing the class at full opacity. I'm a huge fan of good visual clarity, and this was something I didn't even realize was a non-issue until I changed characters to my Adele and noticed that I was at full opacity. And Mo Xuan in particular could maybe have an actual reason to play at above minimum opacity, so this is especially cool. More on that in a minute. When training classes, I tend to just try to find the one skill I can spam with the best ability to clear maps, so I don't really try out skills more than a few times when I first get them. This usually doesn't lead to any issues, and luckily I didn't run into any issues on Mo Xuan either. You get its main mopping skill in second job, and it's already a pretty decent size by that point, so you really won't struggle training to 200 for its crit damage block. Something you might struggle with is getting the class's fourth job advancement, surprisingly. If you're anything like me, after finishing the main story and getting dropped off at Lith Harbor, you just stop looking at any main story quests and start training. This was fine for third job, you kind of just get its skills when you hit level 60, but for fourth job I found that I couldn't accept the job advancement. I started looking in my light bulb for any quests I needed to do and couldn't find any, and after asking my buddy list and hunting for any job quests, I found that there's actually more main story at level 60 that isn't in your light bulb. If you're having this issue, you actually need to go back to Xuanshan School and talk to Xiao Xiao, and she'll have a quest for you. Not a huge deal, but it's a bit strange that the quest isn't in your light bulb, since it's kind of mandatory. After getting 5th job, I did a little bit of bossing, and this is where I have a few issues with the class. The class is a combo class, and I've seen people compare it to Cadena, which is a little fair. I do think it's pretty different, and instead of weaving skills together like you do for Cadena, you kind of just spam your skills off cooldown. But you have to press 1 or 2 buttons before you can press your damage skills. The main gimmick of the class is you have to press your fist or your foot skills before you can press your blue damage skills, since those either get 50 or 100% FD if you do. Each blue skill is associated with either your fist or your foot, and the small skills want 1 charge of fist or foot, while the big skills want 2. You'll also want to cycle between the blue fist skill and the blue foot skills, because using one stance's blue skill will increase the other stance's blue skill's FD by an additional 100%. It honestly sounds a little more complex than it plays, especially with how much I had to say skill there. I'm going to kill myself. In practice, you can kind of get a rhythm of stance switching. The cooldowns do feel a little low though, and I do find myself kind of just staring at my quick tab instead of at the boss. The reason why I mentioned that you might want to play with higher than 0 opacity is because you can tell what phase of each stance you're in from the skill's animation, which means you can look at your quick tab slot less and more at the boss, though I could just be crazy. Overall, I think in bossing the class is pretty fun, but it's a bit more of a focused experience than I want bossing to be, since you have to pay so much attention to your cooldowns. On a side note, I think that the event for Mo Xuan is a little underwhelming. This is how they're releasing the hard-earned power set, which is something I've been looking forward to for a while, and the only way to get the full set is if you train Mo Xuan to 260 in a little over a month with no hyperburn, which is honestly really exhausting. Even with all of the free EXP they're giving us, it's a lot more training than most people will want to do. Especially since this came right after Tanjiro, which is also a trained character to 260 event, but he got more than 2 times the experience Mo Xuan gets from training, which made him a lot easier. But putting 2 in a row definitely didn't help. Mo Xuan is definitely a class to check out, even if you're not super interested in training it to 260. You'll definitely want to get it to 140 since it is both a crit damage Legion block and a best in slot link skill, and you'll want to eventually get it to 250 just to finish off that crit damage block. Even if you don't like it as a bossing mule too much, its mobbing is a little above average in my experience, which will make getting it to 250 not that bad. And apparently it gets really nice mobbing at 260 with Soul Janus if you want to take it a little further than that, because the passive procs Janus Dawn, which procs the passive. Very nice. Hopefully I end up liking the class because I'm pretty in love with the fashion I ended up putting on mine, and if I like it enough, maybe you'll get a boss mule showcase.